Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders, so let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the Jamodi Podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here.
You nailed something right there, though. That may be another reason why listening to our assistant coaches and the advice or the feedback they give is so valuable, because they don't have the fear. Of course they want your program to be good, and of course they want you and the players to have success. But I was an assistant once, and I remember the thought of this is his team, this is his career. Like, these wins, these losses, they're not on my record, even though I was all in what we're doing. So my feedback could be just raw, in the moment, objective, not subjective, because of and as a head coach, I think all of these all the stakeholders are in our minds. You got the parents, you've got the select coaches, you've got the skilled trainers, you've got their friends, you've got their teammates, you've got the player themselves. And so we're sometimes trying to juggle all of these different relationships. And to me, I try to think about all of these different directions that this decision could go. Like, how many dominoes is this going to, and you can go down too many rabbit holes that almost just lock you up. But then, like you said, you got assistant coaches that, man, they're not worried about that because they're not having the parent meetings. They're not going to get called into the AD.
Yeah, they haven't had.
Go ahead.
Sorry, they haven't had those conversations, so those things aren't playing. Those scenarios aren't playing out in their minds, and that's a blessing to have people that are as experienced as they are, not having to worry about those things, because those are the burdens we carry, which is what we're supposed to carry. Man, you know that. There's times I'm not gonna sit here and kid anyone. There's times that decisions have been made based on a conversation I had with a kid, and if somebody throws something else out there and says, hey, that's not the best decision right now for this particular scenario, then I would have to rethink it. Like, okay, you're right. You know what? And thank you for that. Thank you for that input. That's what we needed.
You've made a comment a couple times about not robots, but basketball players. And I completely agree. And let's just say that robots is the blue pill and basketball players is the red pill. When did you make that switch? When did you take the red pill to think, okay, it's going to be not me joysticking them and controlling every possession. It's going to be creating, it's like our faith. We have these guardrails that God puts in our life that it's not so we don't have fun. It's so that we don't sin or we don't cause ourselves or others pain. We kind of do that with offense, as we have these guardrails that there's a lot of freedom in. When did you start thinking of it like that? Or have you always done that?
Man, after about a 2-hour conversation with a coach named Matt Sayman. No, we had, my first year, we were so talented, so big. We had 6'10", Division 6'5" Division 1 player that ended up going to Michigan State. And we were really, I'd always kind of bought into having this rim runner style offense with, we're going to get into, basically numbered break and then hit a trail to a high-low. And if you don't do this, then you do this. And so it got really, really, to me, just stagnant. And I had a conversation with a coach that I have to give props to. I told you I was going to. And we talked about, honestly,
I did not ask that question. I did not ask that question for you to do that, for you to go down that route. But yeah, keep going.
Softball. No.
Before we came on, I said, hey, listen, I need you to give me credit for what? No, for all your success. No, go ahead.
No, We're trying to, well, what are the goals? We're trying to spread the floor, get paint touches. We're trying to gain advantages, create advantages, and keep those advantages based on quick decisions. And a lot of times you run a big guy right down the middle of that, and it's kind of clogging it up. So we're going to have to space the floor a little bit better. Spacing is going to look differently for us. And when spacing looks differently for us, that means you're putting 5 dudes out there that better understand how to play basketball. They better understand, what the all of the different things that go into what we're trying to accomplish offensively, and within their own role, but also in a sense of freedom that allows them to go make decisions based on what they feel like is best in the situation they're in, right? And so it's not a if then situation. It's a, hey, I've been put in a situation, I've been put in space to create for my team, and this is the best thing I can do in that situation. And so it's that conversation, and everything's stolen. Everything's stolen. And, you're going to hear as we talk, you're going to hear some Coach Sip from Allen. Shout out to Coach Sip. You're going to hear Coach Weir at Keller. Big influence offensively for me. Coach Weir, shout out to Coach Weir. It's about creating a situation where kids enjoy. It's not like, man, I've got to go and do this one role. It's no, hey, let's go find 5 basketball players. And unfortunately, sometimes because it becomes positional, as you look over at our bench, sometimes you'll see a 6'6", 6'7" sitting down because they haven't really bought into the way we're trying to play. And I love those guys, and I want them to be, I want them to fit in those scenarios. But then I think an old school mindset is, hey, just go set them on the block and throw them the ball. It's just not how we're trying to play.
I love that you brought up the rim runner thing, and that's something that I was asked to speak at the Mavericks clinic at I think at Frisco High School, one of those, but this was a couple years ago, and I just blurted out a statement, and I think we always got to be careful with these, like saying like that never works. And so the DBU players were the no UTD players were the ones that we were using and stuff. And it was really fun, but I was teaching them kind of our 5-out, our flow, and an advantage game that I really, really like, where you go 5-on-2, then 5-on-3 and 5-on-4, where you're just teaching them to find the open guy. Because who's the most dangerous player? The open one. And the open one has to receive the ball. And like, it's a concept that, you and I were talking earlier about players not seeing open teammates and us yelling, he's wide open, throw it. He doesn't see it. So we have to create situations for them to learn to see it. But I threw a comment out there. Yeah, like we're not going to rim run because rim run never works. And I just said it, and it just kept going through. And thankfully, a coach emailed and said, hey, I heard you say this. What data do you have to back that up? None. I have no data to back that up. But I've played in a numbered break with a rim runner, coached it early on, and me and Wes Watson ran it. But in 5-on-up, and you're doing your 5 trips, when it's time to hit the rim runner, he's always open, and he catches it and he dunks it, and then we run the other. But that's 5-on-up. I think if you really look at, here's the deal: check and see, does the skill work you're doing, the concepts you're practicing, are they actually showing up in games? Because I would say that the upping it to the rim runner rarely happens. Now you could say, well, the rim runner pulls that defender down, and maybe opens up that guy, possibly. But like you said, if the goal is, if no one's more dangerous than me, and I can't up it to them, then my job is to get to the world. Well, the world needs to be empty. And the moment you stick a guy there, you bring another defender in, then there's less friction with a corner 3 and that defender straddling that lane line. There's there's a lot of friction there. Do I help and leave this, or do I give up a layup? When that dude's sitting in there, it really slows us down. And I should have probably, there's no perfect way to do this. And rim running, yeah, occasionally, man, it looks really nice, but I agree with you. And, but I love that you brought that up, and watching you guys play and how you used, was it Sawyer?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How big is he?
6'7". Yep.
The way you used him, though, it was so fun because he could Brunson, he could play on the elbow. All of a sudden, then he's shooting a 3, and then he's ripping and attacking. I'm like, if I'm the other team and I see 6'7", I'm gearing up for post play. but that dude was all over the place. That's hard to guard.
Man, he's a big part of our success because I mean, there was a stretch of the season where he's shooting over 50% from three. We finished the year at 46% from three on 104 makes. So I mean, it's highly efficient player at 6'7", and a lot of our success came from him drawing the other team's biggest player because he did have the ability, like you said, you call him Brunson's, I call him Barclays. He'd get into the Barclays and spray out of the Barclays, or if he didn't draw two, then he could go to work there. And so it was more about spreading the floor, putting pressure on the corners with really good shooters to flatten the defense. And so we had to make sure that we found ways to attack the rim. And we just weren't doing that with rim runners because we would always, inevitably, you'd get a rim run once a game and everyone's like, oh, that was nice. But inevitably that big fella, no matter how much I preach to him, hey, once you rim run or seal, you got to step off to the dunk zone. He wants to follow the ball. He wants to ask for it. He's got the smaller guy on him or whatever. And now we're not getting any paint touches.
And everybody's holding it and checking, and you don't have rips happening and dominoes forming.
And so we just want to space the floor to give our kids the best opportunity to create those double gaps and get into actions that'll give us advantages from there. I mean, I think that's the biggest part of stealing that is from you and from different things you hear from different coaches is, everybody, all these kids they're working on their bag, right? They're working on their individual vision. I'm like, we need to work on decision making. Like decision making is the biggest aspect of what was good about our team this year is every single day we tried to put them in situations where they had to make decisions, and sometimes those were with advantages and sometimes they weren't, but we always talked about the decisions. We didn't punish decisions, especially early on, because we want to make quick decisions. If we're going to make quick decisions, that means sometimes they're going to be the wrong decisions, but I'd rather fix the wrong decision through experience than have them make slow decisions and we lose all advantage, we lose all opportunity to put pressure on the rim. So it was a big deal for us to spread the floor a little bit more and then put kids in situations to make decisions constantly making decisions, whether we go 3-on-2, put them in ball screen actions, put them in our small-sided actions. Everything that we do, we try to give our kids opportunities to make decisions. And then Coach Hudak and our defensive coaches, they love that because while I'm over there just thinking about offense, they're trying to figure out how to solve the puzzle of being at a defensive disadvantage. Because when you play Timberview and when you play Beaumont Westbrook and when you play Mansfield Summit, you're going to get a defensive advantage. And now we better be able to scramble out of it. We better understand what to do out of it and how we're going to support each other out of it. So putting our offensive team in advantage, it seems like, and the kids sometimes, especially when we're keeping score, they get a little bit frustrated, like, hey, they're always going to be at this advantage. Well, your time's coming, but also you're getting better defensively because you're learning how to scramble out. And if it's what's the term that slipped in my mind, reverse engineer. If we reverse engineer what we're trying to do offensively, then everything we're trying to do offensively, if we think that's the most effective thing, then we should probably build our defense to take those things away, right? And so we're doing those things at the same time. And I think it's just the takeoff our kids have had from that has been incredible because you hear them talking about it in huddles. When we play out of advantage and when we work on making good decisions, when a team is pressing us, our kids light up because our kids will say, hey, this is what we do every day. You take care of the basketball, you get tough with the ball, you make one good pass, we're playing in advantages. We're in an advantage, and the more possessions we get, I think we had the highest PPP in school history this year that, we're trying to up those possessions. It's one of the reasons we started playing a little bit faster defensively because we realized if we could get more possessions than the other team, that we give ourselves a really, really good chance to be successful. And our kids love it. And that's the conversations we're having to say, hey, this is just like an advantage drill. You get strong with the ball this first pass out of the press, and now they're in a scramble, and we're doing what we do every day, and they love it.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.